Fredericks Media Network, the John Fredericks Radio apps. Thank you for being with us. We're live in Iowa. We're going to be here all week. Chris Saxman, my guest, my co-host, is going to be with here all week. Thanks for joining us, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man.
Oxman, Dan Oxner, is going to be with us tomorrow and Wednesday. We're looking forward to that. This segment brought to you by our good friends at Right to Work. It's simple, Chris. No worker should ever be forced to pay money to a union boss that he doesn't want to keep or get a job. That's just egregious. That's why hardworking Virginians overwhelmingly, without fail, support Right to Work and agree that forced unionism is wrong. You guys did a poll. 80% of Virginians support Right to Work.
89%
89.
support when we ask the question, do you support or do you oppose forcing someone to join a union against their will for a job? 89% across the board.
No. 89%.
89%.
I mean, you can't get 89% of people to do anything. Anything.
We outpolled just about everything in the known universe,
Yeah.
literally on that one,
Yeah.
because it's ultimately about force of freedom, and no one wants to be forced to do something. If you want to join a union, go ahead, join a union.
We have
My
great
brother-in-law,
unions in Virginia.
my brother-in-law's in the union.
Yeah,
my
so-
two nephews
yeah.
are in the unions because
Got
they
friends of mine
wanted
there.
to be an airline pilot and they wanted to be a firefighter. That's the deal.
Or they work at Newport News Shipbuilding, or
Yeah,
they work at the dock.
Look, there's a lot, and there's nothing about being against unions or union workers, but you shouldn't be forced to join one.
Exactly. And
If they're so great, why do you have to force someone?
well, that's right. And
No
the
one
other
forces
thing,
me to go to Costco and pay their tab.
If you join a union and you join it voluntarily, then the union leadership is responsible to your wishes.
Exactly. They're
accountable.
far more accountable. They're far more in tune with their union members, and they have a stronger voice because their employees don't have to be there.
Bingo. So that's why it's vital to tell your legislators in Virginia and Governor Abigail Spanberger to defend Right to Work in Virginia. Now, with the General Assembly now in session, it's vital you make your choice heard today. How do you do that? We make it simple for you, like we do everything. We make everything simple here. You go to virginiarighttowork.com and demand your legislators and Governor Spanberger oppose forced unionism and protect Right to Work. It's as simple as that. Just go to virginiarighttowork.com. You fill the petition out. Here's what they do. We immediately send it to your House of Delegates member. Boom. Then we send it to your state senator. Boom. Then we send it to Spanberger. Kaboom. So all I got to do is fill it out. We need 1 million. We're about 500,000. We got to get there. Let's roll. Let's get these done. VirginiaRightToWork.com. VirginiaRightToWork.com. This message paid for by the National Right to Work Committee. We thank you for that. Joining us now, Paul Teller, and we also have got Rabbi Yaakov Menken. Of course, I have no idea what Paul's title is. It keeps changing.
Good to see you, sir.
Paul, you went on your own or something. Teller Strategies?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Still working with Advancing American Freedom. They're a great client, but yeah, out on my own at this time. So
All
here
right.
we go.
We got Rabbi Yaakov Menken. He's the Executive Vice President of the Coalition for Jewish Values. Gentlemen, we've got an armada right now in the Persian Gulf. The Ayatollahs are hanging by a thread. What's going to happen? Rabbi Menken.
Oh, I was going to ask Paul to handle that one.
What's going to happen?
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. We like to divide these questions, right? What do we think is going to happen? What do we wish were going to happen? I think we could all agree it's about time this regime was pulled out of power, right? We could do it for Maduro. We could do it for the Iranians. I think that's what the Iranian people deserve after all this time is a lot less talk and a lot more action. And let's get some, at least sort of freedom-loving people ruling that country. What's actually going to happen? It looks like this administration wants a deal, unfortunately. It means a lot of talking, right? Some playing around with sanctions, some playing around with energy, some playing around with military, this and that. I don't know. You can tell by the tone of my voice, I'm not excited about a deal. I'm not excited by Witkoff, who seems to be the lead negotiator. I'm not convinced he's pro-Israel. So the rabbi may have a different take, but it doesn't seem like it's going in a great direction. It seems like it's going kind of soft direction.
Well, if the deal is to get the Ayatollah out, that will be a good deal. But Is it heading in that
Right,
direction?
but who's good? Why would they agree to that? Right? Why would the Iranians agree to that? So
Well, they're not.
We're not seeing them agree to stop enriching uranium. It's like the problem is when you start negotiating, you come to something in the middle. Well, obviously the non-negotiable is regime change, because once you change the regime, there's nothing to negotiate with the current one.
Right.
Well, there's actually news out of Israel is that a religious Jewish family of 5 just arrived in Israel. They had to travel quite dangerously from Iran to a neighboring country from which they escaped to Israel. So, you see 2 things from that. One is that the Iranian people, unfortunately, are not convinced that there's going to be regime change, that the Americans really do have their back. Because here you have this family of, if it was living in Iran, they had to abandon all of their source of income, their possessions, their property. They had to leave everything behind except what they could carry to be able to escape out of Iran. And it was very dangerous to do. And they thought it was worth it because clearly a signal from the Iranians that, the Iranian people do not believe that there's going to be a real positive change. Second thing, of course, is that this Iranian family just escaped persecution, arrived in Israel to promptly be called by the left, including the left in America, occupiers and participants in genocide, et cetera, et cetera. These are people who escaped radical racism and persecution like most of the Israelis. And you see this incredible inversion going on throughout the Middle East. It's still going on. The Iranians have promised to bomb Israeli cities, and they've lined up which if there's going to be missile strikes from America, they're not just going to respond by striking American bases. They're going to respond by striking Jews. And where do you find Jews in that region of Israel? That region of the Middle East? Israel. So, this is a very clear signal what's going on. By the way, the Iraqis did the exact same thing in 1991. For anybody who remembers, Saddam Hussein and the Iranians did not get along. They fought a war for 7 years against each other. But at the end of those 7 years, you see, it's still, as long as it's still the same people, the Iraqis at that time, when they were fired on by the Americans, they fired missiles at Israel. The Iranians are promising to do exactly the same thing, because the outpost of values and decency in that region is Israel. And that's why that Iranian family escaped there.
Well, let me ask you this, Paul. Why don't we just go in and end this thing? All we have to do with our military is go in and take these guys out, and or basically do what we did with Maduro, right? That Saxon was saying earlier today, which is, hey, you got 72 hours to get out, or you're dead. Like, pick one.
Yeah.
And then they get out, they can bring the Shah's son in and leave it up to the people whether they want to install a new government or not, and leave it up to the people. But if you get the Ayatollahs out, that's the end of it. The whole thing collapses, right?
No question. No question.
I'm going to hear what Paul has to say.
No, I was going to ask. Yeah, totally agree. And the thing that I guess I find confusing is it conflicts with the rest of President Trump's foreign policy, right? Like, he's had a pretty muscular foreign policy, which is fantastic. I think most of Americans support that. Most of our allies, and maybe even some non-allies, support or at least respect it. When it comes to this, we're Witkoff is leading this flaccid foreign policy, and I just don't understand why the disconnect. So it's very disturbing. The Israelis, I was just reading, poking around online this morning, the Israelis are very confused. Are we going in or are we not going in? Like you said, there's an armada, so that's a muscular sign. But then you got Witkoff talking about,
what's the deal with this guy,
like,
Witkoff?
have flowers and puppy dogs.
A lot of my friends in the Jewish community that are very informed really hate this guy. What is the deal with Witkoff?
He doesn't really have the confidence of a lot of people in the conservative movement in general, and a lot of people in the Jewish community are just very suspicious of what he's been doing. I don't know if I entirely agree with Paul about this being totally out of character, because of course you look at what Trump has done with the Russians and the Ukrainians, and instead of picking a side, and it's kind of obvious who attacked whom, he's trying to play both sides of the fence there as well. But this is really, either way, it's losing a moral compass. If you want If you want to have decency and you want to have peace and you want to move things to move forward, you have to realize, there's certain things. Genocidal terror organizations cannot exist. We don't go namby-pamby with that as, by the way, it's Witkoff again. This is what they're doing in Gaza. They're going to have a deal. They seem like they're crawling towards a deal where Hamas is going to continue to exist. Oh, okay, that's going right back to the mowing the lawn strategy. Like, we're just going to retain them. We're going to keep them down. They'll never do anything too bad. Right, like October 7th, right? I mean, this cannot happen. The Iranians is the same thing. These are people who are working on developing a nuclear weapon. Okay, so they won't develop it next week. They'll develop it in 6 weeks. Is that really a better world? I mean, obviously, the Trump administration was actually brought in by a lot of us voters to do better than that.
I mean, it looks like you guys think that there's going to be some milquetoast deal going on, where they have a sanction here and they have a Uranian check there, and something of that nature. I don't know why he would bring that armada there to do. He could have done that over the phone, Chris.
Well, when it came to Venezuela, they didn't go straight in. They set up operations and they did training missions and they ran the war games, if you will. They got people in place to do it the right way. And I think they're taking their time because they know they can. Iran has no air defense at all. And they're probably getting
or naval defense.
Or
they
they're
have
getting
no defense.
nothing. They have nothing. But by the same token, you have a lot of innocent civilians that Donald Trump doesn't want on his conscience, probably, hopefully. And he also is trying to work a deal, hopefully to get this thing done peacefully, like he did with Maduro. He gave Maduro a chance to go. He chose not to, and we see what happened. And so, I mean, the pieces are in place. They have time. There's no pressing immediacy to this. And, I give the president his due for getting it done. And I think, a couple months we'll go back and say, that was pretty quick, but I think we can wait to get it done the right way with as little loss of human life as possible. But I think it's going to happen. I mean, you don't go put them there and have everything blow out their air defenses and go, hey, let's put them back in there.
Right.
This is going to happen.
Right.
Chris, I hope you're right, because it sounds like what John was saying was that, despite gathering all those forces this time around, unlike Venezuela, they're not actually going to do anything. They're just saber rattling. I really do hope that's not the case. It is true, by the way, over the summer, the fact that the Iranians have no air defense and they have no naval defense, that's something the Israelis took care of for the United States several months ago. So it is definitely the time to take advantage of that. If there's going to be regime change, and if American military might is going to somehow have an influence in that picture, then absolutely. And by the way, I think all Trump needs to do is blow up the presidential palace and maybe the parliament. And at that point, the people are just going to say no more of this, and they're not going to allow the regime to rebuild. So I don't think there's a whole lot America needs to do to trigger that revolution that we all believe is necessary.
I'm sure they showed them the videos of what happened in Venezuela and said, here's what's coming. This is what we're going to do. You can leave and we can set up a nice process of transition, or we're just not going to let you slaughter your people in the streets anymore. That's over with. And we're going to cut you a nice deal. Let's move on. I mean, we can do this. We can do this the nice way or the mean way, and you don't want that.
I don't think Khomeini is going to be a candidate for Hotel Guantanamo. I think it's I don't know where they put Maduro. Was it Rikers Island or something? But I mean, I don't think the intent for Khomeini is the same. I think it's more like the Osama bin Laden approach.
Yeah, you're dead.
If it comes to that, which hopefully it will.
It's a matter of when, not if, at this stage.
Yeah, when, not if.
That's it.
I hope Chris is right.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're all here with Chris on this one.
I think we were talking earlier, we believe, or I believe, by the time we get to the summer, Venezuela's gone, the Ayatollahs will be gone, there'll be a new government in Iran. Hopefully it's better than the one they got, but it's going to be up to them. And Cuba's going to fall, and that is definitely going into democracy hands one way or the other. So people there want freedom.
Well, they're
not religious fanatics. They just want to be able to buy a quart of milk and some bread.
I think you'll have it before July 4th.
Right.
This will be wrapped up in plenty of time to build up a month of enthusiasm for the convention
and the 250-year anniversary.
And the time's
And he's going to be able to say, look, 1 year I've been here, 18 months, no Venezuela, no Iran,
no Cuba.
no Cuba. What are you going to do? Vote for like the communists in New York City? I mean, what are people going to do? You could say, well, I thought, prices would come down more and I don't like healthcare. Yeah. But you've made the world a tremendously safer place and prices are going to come down. And you're getting all these refunds. So what are people going to say?
In the business in South America, Central America, the Caribbean is going to explode.
Yeah.
I mean, the markets in Brazil and Venezuela, I mean, alone, Argentina, look what they're doing. I'm going down to Argentina in May. I can't wait to get down and see that. To take those off the board. This is the end run around Putin's Russia expansionism. He's taken Syria off the board. Iran's going to come off the board. Cuba's going to come off the board. Venezuela's going to come off the board. What do they have for allies? And they've lost like, 1 million of their own men? From a population standpoint, that's a disaster for Russia. And I think he's playing Russia right. I mean, a lot of my conservative friends don't agree with me on that. I think he's playing Putin the right way. I really do. He's penning him in.
Yeah, which is how?
Grinding him down, taking all his allies off the board.
If I could take you back to what you guys were talking about before we came on the air, there's actually a tie between what you were talking about with regards to the unions and what's going on in the Middle East. Because the reason why they used to make it mandatory, and it was, like you had to join the union, is because the union was negotiating for you. The point of the union was to secure fair wages for every worker in that business and working for that company, the United Auto Workers, etc., to make sure they had a decent salary.
Right.
But now they have jumped off the rails. And interestingly enough, when they jump off the rails, it's somehow, coincidentally, always in an anti-Israel direction. They don't have anything to say about China. They don't have anything. Chinese competition, big problem for American businesses. They don't talk about China. They don't talk about Russia. They just want to talk about the Jews. Really? The United Auto Workers, the United Electrical Workers, a boycott, the genocide in Israel. I think requires that you be... To refer to genocide in Gaza requires you be a Nazi or a moron, and that's what they go.
They're controlled by the Democrat narrative machine. That's what the whole thing is, because that's how they get their power, and then they give the money to them, and the Democrats control the narrative. All right, final thing, we got time for one phone call. He's all fired up. Incoming. Anthony in Florida. Anthony, you got the floor. Fire away.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'll make this brief. There are 3 things that the American people are sick of hearing about. 1, Ukraine. 2, Iran. 3, Israel. Every day, all day, every day. I would like my president to deal with domestic issues, and I'm just sick of it. The average guy like me, I'm sick of it. Every day, in my face. Oh, poor Israel, please, 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 enough. How about Minnesota? How about the domestic issues? Could we deal with that? And I know your yes men on each side of you, Rabbi, are going to just try to tear into me. But, gentlemen, please remember, this is a republic. We vote for you. You work for the people. And the people are saying enough. You got Midnight Hammer. You got, could we back away? If you want to go out alone, Israel, do it. If you want to start a missile fight with Persia, go ahead. But please, pay for it on your own. Please, enough American blood treasure over there. Bring them over here. Like Minnesota, California, parts of the state are in open rebellion. But yet we're over where? Doing what? For who? Enough.
Enough. Anthony, let me do this. Take a look at this. Anthony, have you looked at the stock market recently? Do you know what the stock prices are now? Trump is literally talking about the stock market going through 100,000. Have you looked at gas prices recently? Have you looked at what ICE is doing to not only the securing our border, most secure border ever, but removing miscreants from the dangerous people from this country who shouldn't be here? Trump is by no means ignoring domestic policy issues in order to deal with overseas. But here's the problem. If you play the isolationist game, that's exactly what people were advocating for in 1941. And by the way, back in the First World War, where the United States never officially got involved, it was very dangerous for the world. What happened there, wasn't it? Obviously, when Germany went after, as it did after World War I. You know, the Americans have to get involved. The Korean War, the Vietnam War. It's about securing the peace, and the disastrous pullout of Afghanistan is depriving 38 million people because of the human rights, because Biden said we got to focus on issues at home. That's silly. We have to care about human beings around the world. We have to care about what's best for America around the world. If you look at Singapore and you look at Taiwan and you look at South Korea and you look at Germany, the Americans have boots on the ground around the world. Israel's the one place actually where the Americans really don't have boots on the ground. You know, thank goodness for that. They just test weapons for the Americans.
I'm going to give Saxman the final word. Go ahead, Chris.
Here's the disconnect, and this is why it's so important to listen to your callers, John. I'm glad the president listens to your show. Anthony's right. His perspective is, what about me? He's tired of helping other people out. I have my own life to live. Are you bringing down my healthcare costs, my pharmaceutical costs? What are you doing for? That's politics. And I agree with the rabbi and Paul Teller. The president can do both. Messaging is critically important on this.
That's right.
But for Anthony's of the world, you got to say, how is it going to benefit me? And that's the critical thing about why foreign policy is good. More peace brings more prosperity. More prosperity brings better situations for us, better fiscal policies, better fiscal realities, better monetary policies. That's been part of our drain. And President's message, and I've been on European shows, guys, we're out of money. We can't afford this. We're at 39 trillion and counting. My granddaughter is in a world of debt, and she didn't do anything to deserve that. We have got to get our own house in order, and that's part of the difficult transition we're in right now. And we have to be able to have these conversations and talk about what each other sees so we can get everything done that we ultimately want to get done.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. We got to go.
Appreciate you.
John Fredericks Media Network, Paul Teller. Want to thank you, Rabbi. Want to thank Chris Saxman. Back at you tomorrow. I'm coming on Bannon. War Room at 10:15, I'm just told. Talk about our poll, so we're happy about that.
Thanks.
And other good things live here in Iowa. Other than that, follow me on social media at JF Radio Show, at JF Radio Show. We're going to put a lot of things out today on our bus tour here in Iowa. We will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Michael Patrick Leahy is next. I'll be on War Room 10:15. Keep it right here.